Hey guys, today I would like to talk about something called the disability tax credit in Canada. And one of my clients recently asked me this uh, tax credit and what it is and whether or not it applies to her. So I thought a lot of people actually don't understand what it is or don't understand the potential benefit of having it. So here's some explanation as to why you should apply for it. So the Canadian disability tax benefit tax credit is actually not a benefit. Sorry, I said benefit, and so a lot of people actually don't bother applying for it because it's not a benefit, and it's in fact a non-refundable tax credit. And what that means is that if you're not working and you're not paying taxes, or if you're working but still not paying taxes because your tax bracket is very low, you don't actually directly get benefited from it. So a lot of people who have disability don't bother applying for it, or simply a lot of people who have speech impediment or they stutter and they thought, oh, I'm not disabled, so therefore they don't apply for it, and they didn't know that they would potentially qualify. And so the disability tax credit can be transferred to someone who is taking care of you and financially supporting you. And that can be transferred to more than one person, two people. Okay, it can be split. Say if you're being taken care of by two brothers, then the two brothers can share the disability tax credit amount. Okay, and some people, they say, well, I am already receiving the Canadian pension plan disability benefit, or the ODSP, what we call Ontario Disability Support Program. So I think I already have it. Well, the thing is that if you don't fill the disability tax credit certification, which is the application itself, you don't qualify for it. And the application process is actually very, very simple. Okay. And once you qualify for it, you can actually open up a registered disability savings plan, which actually can bring you up to 300% matching from the government. And even if you don't put money in, the government will give you some money every single year. So it's always good to have the disability tax credit, even if you don't need it, just in case you are not aware of some of the benefits. And you can always go back to reviewing it when you already have the disability tax credit without wondering about it. Okay, so some people will say, well, I don't know how to apply for it. Let me Google search. And so when you search on Google, you will actually find, well, first of all, the Canadian government website, and then also Financial Post, which is a great resource. Okay, Sun Life, I don't know. Okay, Tax Tips, I don't know. Now, then you'll get these websites called the National Benefit Authority. So these websites belong to organizations that would help people go through the application process. Well, that sounds great. Well, how can I call them and ask them to help me with the process? Well, the thing is, the process, although it's very simple, a lot of people are afraid of having to go through it. In 2015, news came up, and companies such as the National Benefit Authority were on news about predatory practices. So this article actually explained what the disability tax benefit, disability tax credit is. Sorry, not benefit. And they actually help clients get refunds north of $20, $30, or even $40,000. But these clients didn't know that once they get the tax refund, they have to pay a 30% fee. So imagine you get a $20,000 tax refund for the past 10 years. Boom, you have to pay $6,000 fee. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. And so some MPs in the parliament, they were discussing whether or not they want to regulate these companies because they are technically financial services company. And so earlier last year, CRA, moves to slash these fees or to regulate them to make them follow certain guidelines or regulations in terms of how much they can charge these very, very vulnerable people. Okay, so some of you are wondering, oh, how do I get $20, $30, or $40,000 of tax refund, right? Now here's the thing. Once you qualify for the disability tax credit, depending on how many years your doctor can testify or attest that you have been disabled for, you can actually go back and adjust up to 10 years of your personal tax. So, and the CRA would then issue you a check of the difference between what you pay and what you would have been required to pay if you had the disability tax credit 10 years ago, 9 years ago. Okay, so that's why even if you're not making money right now, if you were disabled 5 years ago and you were working 5 years ago, yeah, apply for it. Okay, and the thing is that the application process itself is actually not that difficult. And let me teach you my way of helping my clients to get the disability tax credit the quickest way and the easiest way, and especially right now with COVID, the most contactless way possible. Okay, so this is how you do it. So first of all, you go to the Canadian government website and you look for this form called the T2201 form. Okay, it's called the Disability Tax Credit Certificate form. Okay, T2201. Okay, now you can get the fillable version, which is actually the one that I prefer, or you can fill it by hand, doesn't matter. Okay, so how you would do it is, for example, today we have Bob Smith. Okay, Bob has a social insurance number, so I'm just gonna put Bob's social insurance number here. Mailing address 1 Yonge Street, okay, Toronto. He lives in Ontario. Postal code such and such. Okay, he's born in 1980. Okay, oops. Okay, 1980, August 8, for example. Okay, so that's section number 1. That's the information of the person who is disabled. Okay, and then section 2, you can leave it blank if you're trying to apply this tax credit to yourself, or if you have a spouse who's working and you're not working, you can actually put your spouse's name. So let's just say Bob's wife is Jane Doe. Okay, so Jane has another social insurance number. Okay, and we're filling this up, and then I can choose my spouse. Okay, answer the following question: all of the years you're claiming disability amount for the person with disability, does the person live with you? Let's just say yes. It could be no, because Bob could be in a rehab center or could be in a care home. We don't know, right? If yes, how many years? Let's just say 5 years. Okay, and if you answer no, then you have the answer number 2. Okay, how are you supporting this person, right? So you can say Jane is married to Bob and is currently supporting him for medicine, housing, food, and transportation. Okay, now the CRA may ask you to provide receipts to prove that you're paying for these expenses, but you don't have to do that right now. Section number 3, adjust your income tax and benefit return. So the CRA can actually go back to your return, okay, and adjust for as many years as they approve you. Okay, and so you can actually choose yes, and they would adjust it for you, and you will get the refund right away, or no, you don't want to. The reason why some people don't want to is because maybe Bob knows Jane for only 5 years, and Bob worked for the past from 10 years ago all the way to 5 years ago. So Bob would have wanted to apply for the disability tax credit to himself from 10 years ago to 5 years ago, and then for the past 5 years, if Bob hasn't worked and hasn't paid any taxes, then the tax credit would better go to Jane instead. Okay, so everyone's scenario is different. Let's just say we don't want to do the adjustment, we want a CPA to do it for them. That's completely fine, and Bob would sign here, and then I put Bob's telephone number here and also today's date. Okay, now, so once you sign this, you're basically done. Okay. And one more thing is that I will put Bob's name here, and this would actually populate Bob's name on every other page. And so from the second page on, if you notice, it says Part B must be filled by a medical practitioner. So it could be your specialist or it could be a doctor. Now, if you have a different doctor from 5 years ago, so you can actually fill two of these. So one of the doctors can actually certify that you've been disabled in 2015 to today, 2020. And then the other doctor can say that you've been disabled before 2015, right? So you can actually you should fill two of these if you have two different doctors, right? Or different years that, who attend to you for different medical attention, okay? Medical needs. So the doctor will fill this. And so what I usually do for my clients is that I will print this out with the information. I will have them sign it, and I will put it in an envelope along with another empty envelope that has the address of the tax center that they belong to. In this case, in Toronto, it would be Sudbury Tax Center, okay? And so I will put this address on the envelope, okay? Put the return address of my client, put the stamp on that empty envelope, and put everything on an envelope that goes to the doctor. So the doctor would actually open it and say, oh, Bob wants the disability tax credit certification done. No problem. They might call Bob if Bob hasn't called them and say, hey, Bob, is that from you? Okay, I'm filling this one for you. And the doctor would actually get paid by OHIP, okay, at least is what I know, okay, for the time that they spend on writing this certification. And the doctor would sign this and use the envelope that I prepare for Bob, okay, in the mail that we sent to the doctor, and send it, this whole thing, all 6 pages, to the CRA. And the CRA would actually say, congratulations, you have qualified for the disability tax credit. Or they say, unfortunately, based on the information, we do not consider you to be a qualified a resident of the disability tax credit. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, mind you that even if you have diseases that are known to not be curable, like MS, for example, they will still give you an expiration date. Okay. So once your disability tax credit expires, you need to go to a doctor and recertify by filling this same form. Okay. So that's actually how you do it. Okay, so print this entire thing with your information, sign it, mail it to your doctor. Generally, doctors' offices don't have any internet because they don't want to get hacked on the computers. So sometimes I call the doctor's office. I say, hey, can you print this for my client who's coming into your clinic to fill this form? They say, no, we cannot access this form on the internet. Then I would fax this form with my client's information to the clinic, and then my client will arrive at the clinic and they will already have this form. Okay, so it's actually quite easy to do. Okay, and you should be able to do it without much assistance from other people, unless you're blind, of course. And another thing about those companies called National or Benefit Authority or other companies that will help you is that they would have designated doctors that they send you to and skewer how severe your disability is or how you're disabled, so that it's easier for you to qualify for the disability tax credit. You don't want to do that. You do not want to cheat your taxes or the revenue agency, because that's the last thing you want to do. And if they compel you to provide more evidence of how disabled you are, then and then found out that you would have not been able to qualify, they will disqualify you and also claw back those tax benefit that you have reaped previously. You don't want to do that. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can email me or you can leave a comment there if you need help for me to teach you how to apply for it. Right now everyone's at home and everyone have extra time. If you have been delaying this, hurry up and actually do it anyways, because it's good to have it and it's good to be able to pay less taxes. Nobody likes paying taxes, and if you can pay less taxes, why not, right? Because the government permitted you to pay less taxes. Good luck.